Henna is a dye prepared from the plant Lawsonia inermis, also known as the henna tree. Henna can also refer to the temporary body art resulting from the staining of the skin from the dyes. After henna stains reach their peak color, they hold for a few days, then gradually wear off by way of exfoliation, typically within 1 to 3 weeks. Henna has been used since antiquity in ancient Egypt and to dye skin, hair, and fingernails, as well as fabrics including silk, wool, and leather. Historically, henna was used in the Indian subcontinent, Afghanistan, Arabian Peninsula, Near and Middle East, Carthage, other parts of North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. The name henna is used in other skin and hair dyes, such as black henna and neutral henna, neither of which is derived from the henna plant. Whole, unbroken henna leaves will not stain the skin. Henna will not stain skin until the Lawsone molecules are made released from the henna leaves. However, dried henna leaves will stain the skin if they are mashed into a paste. Since it is difficult to form intricate patterns from coarsely crushed leaves, henna is commonly traded as a powder made by drying, milling and sifting the leaves. The dry powder is mixed with one of a number of liquids, including water, lemon juice, strong tea, and other ingredients, depending on the tradition. The paste can be applied with many traditional and innovative tools, starting with a basic stick or twig. In Morocco, a syringe is common. A plastic cone similar to those used to pipe icing onto cakes is used in the Indian culture. In the Western world, a cone is common, as is a jacquard bottle, which is otherwise used to paint silk fabric. A light stain may be achieved within minutes, but the longer the paste is left on the skin, the darker and longer lasting the stain will be, so it needs to be left on as long as possible. To prevent it from drying or falling off the skin, the paste is often sealed down by dabbing a sugar-lemon mix over the dried paste or adding some form of sugar to the paste. After time, the dry paste is simply brushed or scraped away. The paste should be kept on the skin for a minimum of 4 to 6 hours, but longer times and even wearing the paste overnight is a common practice. Removal should not be done with water, as water interferes with the oxidation process of stain development. Cooking oil may be used to loosen dry paste. Henna stains are orange when the paste is first removed but darken over the following 3 days to a deep reddish brown due to oxidation. Solace and palms have the thickest layer of skin and so take up the most Lawsone, and take it to the greatest depth, so that hands and feet will have the darkest and most long-lasting stains. Some also believe that steaming or warming the henna pattern will darken the stain, either during the time the paste is still on the skin or after the paste has been removed. It is debatable whether this adds to the color of the end result as well. After the stain reaches its peak color, it holds for a few days, then gradually wears off by way of exfoliation, typically within 1 to 3 weeks. Natural henna pastes containing only henna powder, a liquid and an essential oil are not shelf stable, meaning they expire quickly, and cannot be left out on a shelf for over 1 week without losing their ability to stain the skin. The leaf of the henna plant contains a finite amount of Lawsone molecule. As a result, once the powder has been mixed into a paste, this leaching of dye molecule into the mixture will only occur for an average of 2 to 6 days. If a paste will not be used within the first few days after mixing, it can be frozen for up to 4 months to halt the dye release, for thawing and use at a later time. Commercially packaged pastes that remain able to stain the skin longer than 7 days without refrigeration or freezing contain other chemicals besides henna that may be dangerous to the skin. After the initial 7-day release of Lawsone dye, the henna leaf is spent. Therefore, any dye created by these commercial cones on the skin after this time period is actually the result of other compounds in the product. These chemicals are often undisclosed on the packaging and have a wide range of colors, including what appears to be a natural-looking color stain produced by dyes such as sodium bichromate. These products often do not contain any henna. There are many adulterated henna pastes such as these, and others, for sale today that are erroneously marketed as natural, pure or organic, all containing potentially dangerous undisclosed additives. The length of time a pre-manufactured paste takes to arrive in the hands of consumers is typically longer than the 7-day dye release window of henna. Therefore, one can reasonably expect that any pre-made mass-produced cone that is not shipped frozen is a potentially harmful adulterated chemical variety. Henna only stains the skin one color, a variation of reddish-brown, at full maturity 3 days after application. Powdered fresh henna, unlike pre-mixed paste, can be easily shipped all over the world and stored for many years in a well-sealed package. Body art quality henna is often more finely sifted than henna powders for hair, hair dye and eyebrow. Today, commercially packaged henna, intended for use as a cosmetic hair dye, is available in many countries and is now popular in India, as well as the Middle East, Europe, Australia, Canada, and the United States. The color that results from dyeing with henna depends on the original color of the hair, as well as the quality of the henna, and can range from orange to auburn to burgundy. Henna can be mixed with other natural hair dyes for lighter shades of red or even blonde and indigo to achieve brown and black shades. Some products sold as henna include these other natural dyes. Others may include metal salts that can interact with other chemical treatments or oils and waxes that may inhibit the dye, or dyes that may be allergens. Apart from its use as a hair dye, henna has recently been used as a temporal substitute to eyebrow pencil or even as eyebrow embroidery. Traditions of henna as body art. The different words for henna in ancient languages imply that it had more than one point of discovery and origin, as well as different pathways of daily and ceremonial use. It is important to note that the modern term henna tattoo is a marketing term only. Henna does not tattoo the skin and is not considered tattooing. Henna has been used to adorn young women's bodies as part of social and holiday celebrations since the late Bronze Age in the Eastern Mediterranean. The earliest text mentioning henna in the context of marriage and fertility celebrations comes from the Ugaritic legend of Baal and Anath, which has references to women marking themselves with henna in preparation to meet their husbands, and Anath adorning herself with henna to celebrate a victory over the enemies of Baal. Many statuettes of young women dating between 1500 and 500 BCE along the Mediterranean coastline have raised hands with markings consistent with henna. This early connection between young, fertile women and henna seems to be the origin of the Night of the Henna, which is now celebrated in all the Middle East. The Night of the Henna was celebrated by most groups in the areas where henna grew naturally. Jews, Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, and Zoroastrians, among others, all celebrated marriages and weddings by adorning the bride, and often the groom, with henna. Across the henna-growing region, most saints' days were celebrated with some henna. Favorite horses, donkeys, and salukis had their hooves, paws, and tails hennaed. Battle victories, births, circumcision, birthdays, czar, as well as weddings, usually included some henna as part of the celebration. Bridal henna nights remain an important custom in many of these areas, particularly among traditional families. Henna was regarded as having barakah and was applied for luck as well as joy and beauty. Brides typically had the most henna, and the most complex patterns, to support their greatest joy and wishes for luck. Some bridal traditions were very complex, such as those in Yemen, where the Jewish bridal henna process took 4 or 5 days to complete. The fashion of bridal mehandi in North Indian, Bangladesh, northern Libya, and in Pakistan is currently growing in complexity and elaboration, with new innovations in glitter, gilding, and fine line work. Recent technological innovations in grinding, sifting, temperature control, and packaging henna, as well as government encouragement for henna cultivation, have improved dye content and artistic potential for henna. Regions. Bridal henna nights are a popular tradition in North Africa, Somalia, Southeast Asia, the Arabian Peninsula, the Near East and the Indian subcontinent. In Algeria, brides receive gifts of jewelry and have henna painted on their hands before their weddings. Afghanistani tradition holds that henna brings good luck and happiness. In Bangladesh, women use mehandi on their hands on occasions like weddings and engagements as well as during other events. In wedding ceremonies, the mehandi ceremony has traditionally been separated into 2 events, one organized by the bride's family, and one by the groom's family. In Bulgaria, in an attempt to ritually clean a bride before her wedding day, the bride is decorated with a lot of henna. This blot symbolizes the drop of blood on the couple's sheets after consummating the marriage and breaking the female's hymen. The tradition also holds that the longer the henna lasts, the longer the husband will love his new bride. In Egypt, the bride gathers with her friends the night before her wedding day to celebrate the henna night. In India, Hindu women have motifs and tattoos on hands and feet on occasions like weddings and engagements. In North Indian wedding ceremonies, there is one day solely dedicated for adorning the bride and groom in mehandi, also known as mehandi ki rat. In Pakistan, the henna ceremony is known as the Razam-e-Henna, which is often the most important pre-wedding ceremonies celebrated by both the bride and groom's family. In Iran, henna is believed to be a magical and protective plant that, when applied to one's body, can bring happiness, integrity, and fortune to one's life, protect one from the evil eye and guarantee an afterlife in heaven. The most common use of henna is among the long wedding rituals practiced in Iran is the henna ritual held for both bride and groom during the wedding week, which is called an bandan. The ceremony is held before the wedding and is a traditional farewell ritual for newlyweds before they officially start their life together in their own house. In Israel, some Middle Eastern communities and families, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, host henna parties the night or week before a wedding, according to familial customs. In Malaysia, henna is used to adorn the bride and groom's hands before the wedding at a birina ceremony. In Morocco, henna is applied symbolically when individuals go through life cycle events. Moroccans refer to the paste as henna and the designs as naqshir, which means painting or inscription. In Morocco, there are two types of henna artists: non-specialists, who traditionally partake in wedding rituals, and specialists, who partake in tourism and decorative henna. For Moroccans, a wedding festival can last up to 5 days, with 2 days involving henna art. One of these days guests are invited to apply henna to the bride. The other henna ceremony occurs after the wedding ceremony, called the Day of Henna. On this day typically an older woman applies henna to the bride to ward off evil spirits who may be jealous of the newlyweds. The groom is also painted with henna after the wedding. During the groom's henna painting he commonly wears black clothing. This tradition emerged from the Pact of Umar, as the Jews were not permitted to dress similar to colorful Muslim dress in Morocco. In Somalia, henna is used for practical purposes such as dyeing hair and coloring the fingers and toes of married women. It is also applied to the hands and feet of young Somali women in preparation for their weddings and all the Islamic celebrations, sometimes also done by young schoolgirls for several occasions. In Sudan, henna dyes are regarded with a special sanctity, and for that reason they are always present during happy occasions, weddings and children's circumcisions. In particular, henna has been part of Sudan's social and cultural heritage ever since the days of Sudan's ancient civilizations, where both would-be couples get their hands and feet pigmented with this natural dye. Children also have their hands and feet dyed with henna during their circumcision festivity. In Tunisia, the traditional wedding process begins 8 days before the wedding ceremony, when a basket is delivered to the bride, which contains henna. The mother of the groom supervises the process to ensure all is being done correctly. Today the groom accompanies the bride in the ritual at the henna party, but the majority of henna painting is done on the bride's body. During the Victorian era, Turkey was a major exporter of henna for use in dyeing hair. Henna parties were commonly practiced in Turkey similarly to Arab countries. In Yemen, the purpose of a henna party is to ward off evil from the couple before their wedding. In some areas, the party has evolved from tradition to an opportunity for the family to show off their wealth in the dressing of the bride. For other communities, it is practiced as a ritual that has been passed on for generations.